Well, Nesters, it was another night, wasn't it, that we saw the wheel turning, Drew Jones. We just saw us going around that corner at a pretty critical time in the first season of the Andrew McWalter reign. It was honourable, but it was another defeat. I think we took a lot from it. It was a nice night to get excited about, Drewy, albeit a defeat against the Pies.
Yes, and disappointing to lose, but I think, Garby, it's always better to feel frustrated because we feel like mistakes are costing us the game rather than being angry because we're so far off it. And that was the shift in the emotion that I felt on Saturday night. But also, I felt quite proud. Proud to see the game plan coming together, the effort really being there, some young players giving us like a lot of reasons for optimism, some recruits playing great games, some under, I guess, what would you say, not under fire, but guys that have been doubted, sort of proving...
Underappreciated,
Yes, maybe? Yes, underappreciated, but certainly a couple of players proving the doubters wrong as well. So there was a lot to take from the game. And barring a couple of unfortunate errors and some umpiring, we could have been even closer and contesting it, really late into the game. So, yeah, lots to be proud of.
Yeah, so many performances that we need to touch on. That being said, I think we need to also make the point at this stage that the honourable losses, they can start to pile up. And let's look at it. We've had games against Brisbane, Geelong, and now Collingwood. I would say the three premiership favourites, Drewy, where we've been in it, like in the last term. Early in the last, we've been in with a chance of winning. Away to Brisbane, home to Geelong, away to Collingwood. That's really encouraging. That being said, and along with a couple of other games, probably more than a couple, there's still losses. And it gets to a stage now where, okay, we've got to learn how to win. And Minnie's touched on that. But, you don't want the players walking away just happy that they're not being criticised. We're matching it with the best teams. It's now, all right, you've got to find a way to get over the line. We want to get to the end of the season and have at least 3 victories. Richmond at home is one that we should win. And then hopefully we nab another 1 or 2 somewhere to really get us a feeling not only of playing much better footy under the game plan that the coach wants that will stand up long term, we actually know how to win games so that next season we can go in and hopefully jump up to somewhere around 8 wins.
Yeah, it just felt like, if we play that way for the rest of the season, we'll win a couple of games, if not more. And we got a combination right of playing our way, the use of handball through the corridor, and the skills were much better executed coming off halfback using the wings and kicking. The pressure on Collingwood, which we applied, was really good, and they did it back the other way. So in terms of a pressure contest, it was really entertaining between the two teams. So good that we could stand up to them in that sense because that's what they sort of build their game around. And then some of the resiliency we showed during the game really impressed me. So at the start of the second quarter when they got a run on, I was like, oh, okay, it was just a 1 quarter thing and the Pies are going to run away with this now. But we steadied, got the game back to even, and then actually hit back and got ourselves very much back into the contest in terms of on the scoreboard, but also just the balance of play. And then again in the third quarter, it looked like the Pies were going to run away, but we were able to keep ourselves in the game. And I just thought that was really impressive. It would have been easy. Like it would have been an easy out for the players to think, well, we've challenged the Pies for a bit. These guys are a really good team. Like we just can't go with them, but we managed to rally and stay relevant in the game, which I thought that was just really impressive and a big improvement on what we've seen, in recent years for the most part.
So this is interesting, right? So I spoke to Adam Kingsley today. He was up doing media and we play them on Friday. So the Eagles came up naturally, what he expects. And he made a really interesting point because he said he sees a lot of what Andrew McWalter's doing at West Coast now in terms of when it's starting to turn. There's a lot of similarities with his first season at GWS. Now, obviously, he had a lot more talent to work with compared to us at the start of a rebuild. But you might remember his first season, the first half of the campaign was pretty average. And then they just got going, went on that incredible run all the way through to the prelim. And he said, it takes a while for the players to understand the game plan, yes. But this is an interesting point. He said, what happens is it takes the players a while to trust themselves to play the game plan under pressure. It's all well and good knowing it, but then you've actually got to back yourselves under pressure and not play it safe, not go back to what you've known in the past, right? Actually execute or try and execute what you're being told to do against some of the best teams in the competition. He said that takes a while, and you can see West Coast doing that now. They're actually executing under pressure. We just don't have the talent to necessarily win games or do it for a complete 4 quarters. So that was a really interesting point I thought that he made. Should we touch on some of the go on?
I was just going to say, when I was listening to Adam Kingsley speak today, that made me feel really good about what we're doing. And it's funny how if Andrew McQualter or Don Pike says that, you hear it and you're like, well, that's an obvious thing to say because they're trying to sell the progress that we're making. It's going to take time. Like when it comes from the people trying to do it, you just feel like you're being sold something. But then when it comes from Adam Kingsley, you're like, oh, okay, like that makes sense. I get it. And it just sounds almost like it's just because it's coming from someone external validating the process. It kind of means a bit more. Maybe it shouldn't, but it just sort of gave me. It was good feedback, I thought, coming from Adam Kingsley, who I respect immensely as a football person.
Especially when he's been through it recently, taking over as a first-time coach and trying to bring in a new game plan and win players over and get them to trust you and then play it. He knows how it works and how it can take a bit of time. And we're seeing that start to come to fruition now. So some of the players that stood out, let's touch on some of the great performances. For me, there was a big 3 on Saturday night. It was Baker, Hoff and Edwards.
Yep.
They were the 3 absolute standouts. I thought Baker was superb. You can see what we got in now. It's the relentlessness. It's just this constant attack at the football. Yeah, he's not the cleanest user in the AFL. We know that. But we just needed a contest beast, the same with Jack Graham. And we got that for 4 quarters on Saturday night, as we have for large parts of the season. He's leading our best and fairest, without a doubt. Brady Hoff's been immense since being moved into the midfield. He played off Nick Dacos, but not as a tagger. And I thought he matched him. I mean, Dacos may have been best on ground, but Hoffy was right there with him in the boats. So, he sort of went the other way and hurt him at the other end too. And he just had a fantastic game. And Harry Edwards was fantastic as well. I mean, he is just blossoming. He shut up some of the critics who were incredibly short-sighted and reactive. He's played 50 games now. I would make a point. I'll ask you a question, Drewy. And I've kind of led into my answer here, but who is our most important player right now? And by that, I mean the player we can least afford to play with on the weekend, with Yo out, Allen out, Waterman out, and Gov retired.
I mean, that's a tough question. So who's the most important player right now?
Who can we least afford to play without on the weekend? So that's the most important to me. I would say it's Harry Edwards. Like Baker and Hoff would be right up there.
I mean, yeah.
But if Harry Edwards is not there right now, in terms of our team,
we have no tall timber.
Yeah, we're so light on down back. He's been immense in the back line over the past 6 weeks. And it's no surprise that when Collingwood got a little bit of a run on, it was when Harry was off the ground, having the HIA check. So just another big tick for his season and his form at the moment. Who else did you like?
I thought Liam Baker was just exceptional. A funny thing sort of popped into my head where I was like, he is an attacking footballer even when he doesn't have the ball. Like he runs at players, he pressures, he tries to tackle. Like everything that he does is like it feels like he's on offense all the time, which I think is just such a wonderful quality. Yeah, I mean, he was trying his absolute guts out, which was really great to see. So I thought that was Marrick's best game for a while. Looks like he's adapting to his role a little bit better. And he got himself involved in the game a bit more, even laying 6 tackles, like just around the ball, a bit more effective, which I think was promising. I think Hutchison, it was his best game for a while, and he might have benefited from the ball movement being a bit better, like got his hands on the ball a bit more. I think it was clearly Clay Hall's best game. And he's
good point.
He's the rising star this week as well.
Is he really? Great.
Yes.
I haven't seen that yet. Fantastic.
So what my massive criticism of Clay Hall, which was what I noticed when I watched him live at Gather Round, and then possibly the next week, or maybe it was the week before, was that he just wanted to carry the ball for a bit too long, take on tackles, not give the first handball. I don't know if that was given to him as feedback, but he's got that out of his game. So for the most part, what I noticed on Saturday night was that he was willing to give the handball. He was willing to share the ball in space, and he was taking the right option more often than not, and then that improved his overall output, I thought, a lot. And it's great to see him, after, a good chunk of form in the WAFL, get a really good opportunity. But there's one man I want to talk about, and that is Big Job, who
King Job.
What an impact that he made, considering he only had 8 possessions. But there are just times when you watch a young player and you're like, bloody hell, they've got it. Like they get it. They're built to play footy. Obviously a tremendous athlete, great size, but he was running to the right spots. He was flying for the ball. It felt like he could have taken 8 contested marks. Like he was getting his hands to the ball. Matthew Lloyd today on Access All Areas on the AFL Media, was talking about him. Like he's caught people's attention.
Oh yeah. Off
the back of, one game, this beautiful set of hands, and then, that pure kick for goal. Like that was one of my happiest moments as an Eagles fan in recent memory, was that sort of minute to minute and a half of him taking that mark, kicking that goal, the players getting around him, thinking how much that moment would have meant to him. Like surely he would have had a big group of family and friends travel from Bendigo to watch him play. Just made me my heart was full.
And the thing is, I'm actually not surprised. And I reckon there's a lot of Eagles fans who aren't surprised that he came in and caught the attention in the way that he did, because we've seen it in the WAFL, and I take it back to when we drafted him and the fact that he kicked goals, and a reasonable amount of goals, in the VFL for Essendon. I've got to be honest, I'm shocked that Richmond took Jonty Fall, Harry Armstrong and Sims all ahead of him.
Amazing.
Now, all 3 could end up being great players. But if you look at who's had the runs on the board, and Shanahan had done it in the VFL for Essendon, I don't see how the other 3 can be placed ahead of him in a draft. Like, what could the knock possibly be on Shanahan, considering everything we've seen, to have all 3 of those players ahead of him? Doesn't add up.
What about North Melbourne trading back in, and they took Whitlock?
Yeah.
And left Job there.
So, who knows what will happen in time. But for everything we're seeing now, and that's all you can draft upon, right, is that, Shanahan looks the player. And that's why we had to take him, even though we had Oscar, Jake and Archer Reed. I think the Eagles recruiters just went, we can't let this kid slip. He's just too good. We'll work the rest out later.
Yeah.
And we're delighted that we did, because he's the one now. Like, I just can't see him dropping out of this team. He might have a form fluctuation. I don't think we can say that, because, he's still very young, and young key position players take a lot of time. But with Oscar and Jake out, he gets a great run for the rest of the season. And it's just so incredibly exciting. I got a string of messages from people on Saturday night saying, who is this kid? And I'm like, yeah, we've all been aware of it in Eagles land. And I did a poll during the bye. Which young key position forward would you have the most stock in now? Reed, Archer Reed, Jack Williams or Job. And Job won clearly. So Eagles fans have all been across it, right? Great to see it come to fruition like that. Agree with you. Loved Clay Hall's game, and loved it to the extent where, does it make us think, if we do target a Sheldrick or Erasmus, in that trade space, does it make us think about going the outside player? Because I've commentated Sheldrick on Friday night, and his disposal efficiency was really poor. I think he actually went to 0% by boot. It was a great game of footy, high standard, but he wasn't hitting a target, and that is his weakness. And then Clay Hall comes in and has a really good game, not only in the clinches, but around the ground as well. Maybe that opens it up for us to target, an Erasmus type player, although he's settled now at Fremantle. But maybe it makes us think a little bit differently about who we target, because Clay Hall is emerging and giving us a lot of confidence.
Just wanted to mention McCarthy as well. So there was a couple of moments where his poise really shone through, which I just thought was so impressive for someone who's playing their second game against a good team like Collingwood. So his disposal by foot comes as advertised, and then we saw a bit more of the dash. Like when you watch the highlights of him playing for Richmond in the VFL, like you saw this this guy running off half back and creating. We saw a little bit more of that on Saturday night. I think it'll take a while for that to really blossom in his game at AFL level, just as he gets acclimatized. But there were just a few moments where you're like, yeah, okay, like he's got it. Like he's picked up the pace of the game quite quickly. And that's the difference, bringing in a mature age player, of course, but really promising signs. Both Nathan Buckley and Lee Montagna seemed really impressed with him getting their first chance to watch him live. And I judged them as two really good footy brains. And they were pretty complimentary of the way that he had played. So I thought it was a step above what we saw from him on debut, where he got a lot of cheap possessions in the back half. I thought a few of them were a bit harder earned in the clinches, in under pressure, in tight situations. So I've been very impressed.
Yeah, he was fantastic. What a find. God, heavens. We uncovered a gem there. And I thought Flynn competed really well in the ruck too against, a top 3 ruck in the comp in Darcy Cameron. Cameron didn't kill us.
No, he had much less influence on the game, didn't get his intercept marks. Yeah, Flynn did a great job.
Yeah, and look, it's a couple of taps. The one tap from Flynn went down to Elliott, but he doesn't mean to do that. It's an error. I thought his overall game was really good, especially in the second half. And Bailey's there supporting him nicely. Didn't have the impacts going forward, Bailey, that he would have liked. So, yeah, a lot to think about this week in terms of players going out. Hunt was the sub. We kind of saw that coming. Cripps gets subbed out. Going to be interesting at selection. Bazzo has a great game in the WAFL. Is there a chance that Bazzo comes in for Brock? I don't think that's out of the question.
They should.
I think that could be on. Gross could come in for Cripps potentially. Dewar's probably back. Does Chesser get a run? Does he throw him a game? Mini, considering Hunt's kind of sliding a bit. It's really exciting that we're talking about these changes and some of the youngsters are coming through. And Liam Duggan had a good second half as well. I know some people have come in to criticise him, but I've seen both Nathan Buckley and Adam Simpson this morning praising his game, and lots of Eagles fans have been wanting to give it to him, Drewy.
Yeah, so I'll admit that I was very annoyed with his first 3 or 4 minutes, because maybe his first 10 minutes, a couple of times he had the chance to pump the ball inside 50 or get the ball clear, and he sort of took too long and he got smothered like 2 or 3 times, and that frustrated me. But then I felt myself on the edge of getting really frustrated with Duggo, but as the game went on, I didn't feel that way anymore. Like, I think he got better as the game went on. Played a couple of different roles for us through the night and was good. And I just think, he seems to be someone who is attracting attention and criticism at the moment, particularly from Eagles fans. And I just think, he's probably one of the most loved players at the club. He's an unbelievable role player, great clubman, on and off the field, does every single thing right. I think we have to keep our expectations. He's not a superstar of the AFL, but he is ticking almost every other single box for us. Extremely selfless person, premiership player. I think we can probably perhaps wind back some of the criticism.
Yeah, he's a captain of our club. He's working his absolute backside off, and his last 6 weeks haven't been bad. And his kicking's not great. Yeah, he had a pretty average start of the season. And if you want to make the point that maybe he shouldn't be our captain now with Oscar out as well, maybe he's not at that status to be a standalone captain. Yeah, I reckon that's good criticism or constructive criticism as well. But some of it just goes too far. Drop him now, delist him now, WAFL for the rest of the season. Seriously, it's nowhere near that. And, it's just a bit of a lack of respect for a premiership player who's trying his absolute backside off to lead the team and play hard for the team. And I don't know. Look, we're no worse than any other club when it comes to having keyboard warrior fans, but we're no better. And some of the stuff we see, and I get it, we're in a paltry position, have been for a while, frustration is justified, but it sometimes goes too far and is just a bit unnecessary. And there's some fans out there who want their dopamine effect, and negativity breeds that, and you get your likes. And they targeted Harry Edwards early, and now Harry's playing well, so they've got their tail between their legs on that. So it's who else can we target now? Flynn, go at him, and Bailey Williams, oh, no, they're going okay. Can't target them at the moment. Duggan's the one. Couple of mistakes early. Let's go hard at Duggan. Now I'll feel like a Billy Big Bollocks kind of thing. It's just, seriously, if you want to be constructive and all that, great. We can have good conversations about our players and where they fit in things, but some of it is just so juvenile, to be honest. And it happens everywhere. We're not going to solve the problem here. It's a societal issue and across all walks of life, especially in sport. But, some of them just don't deserve it. And it's sad that it festers so much. And that's the kind of stuff that resonates. I remember someone told me in Talkback Radio very early on, Drewy, for every issue that's discussed, if 8 people agree with it, it's the 2 people that disagree that will call up and have a complaint on Talkback, right? Negativity is the stuff that festers sometimes and gets reactions. And, it's just sometimes it's just so beyond what is acceptable. And I think we just need to cut Duggo a break. He doesn't deserve some of the stuff that he copped on Saturday night. And, it's not the time I just don't think it's the time for that to be your focus either. Like, we had a really good night. Focus on the positivity. Like, I think it's the same people who were obsessed with Rowan Jones and we were a premiership winning team and he became the whipping boy. It's like, you don't have to focus on the one negative thing. It doesn't really add up.
Well, ultimately, that's one of our best performances of the season. So there's probably 25 positives that I'd rather focus on. But I understand people get frustrated, and we've won 20 of our last 100 games. So there's always going to be a bit of a backlog and build up of frustration.
Yeah. Sure, I get that as well.
But we're heading in the right direction. And I think, ultimately, and I've said to this to you before, like, the spotlight should just not be this fierce on Liam Duggan, who is supposed to be essentially a role player at the club.
Yeah.
So,
and Adam Simpson said today as well, he's got a knee issue. I think he wanted to get that out there on purpose, knowing him, very tactful. So he's probably battling away with an ailment as well.
Yeah, and he would be the first guy to put his hand up and want to play through that. I was just thinking about today, people talk about Michael Voss losing the players at Carlton, but Paddy Cripps played through a flu and Jacob Wiedering gets probably 5 injections in his ankle to rock up and play off a 5-day break because they love their coach. AFL players are going, for the most part, they're putting in, if not 100% effort, it's probably 99.9%, and they're going out there sore and doing their best. So, anyway, I think there's a lot of positives for us to take from Saturday night. And call me crazy, I'm excited for Friday night. And if the Giants want to leave Jesse Hogan at home, and if Lachie Whitfield's not right to go off the concussion, we're a chance.
We are. I think with them, their forward line, even without Hogan, is potent. No Sam Taylor down back though as well. Remember that. No Brent Daniels.
It's good for Joe.
So they're missing a few. I think the key to them is, for every one of our games, because our weakness is our midfield. We've just got to be as active as we can be in there and try and halve the contest as much as possible. But Tom Green, all right, Harley's just got to try and match it with him. We've got to try and keep Finn Callaghan quiet. That is just the number one go. So I think it's got to be a Hoff tag on Callaghan because their midfield falls away a lot after Green and Callaghan. They've got big issues in there. But those two are elite and they'll get some help from some others. Rouston's coming on and giving them a bit of bite around the contest. But Green will get his 30, 20 contested. Callaghan can rip you apart. If we can keep him in check, then I think we can match it in the midfield, and who knows the way we're playing after that, because we can just restrict the ball coming into their forward line, Hogan or not, then we could well be in this contest. And this Ash, and if Whitfield plays their run-off half-back, they can carve you up if we're not at it around the ground. But just making sure they don't come away with it with ease in the middle, it can keep us in that game. And then, they're coming off the bye. Who knows? Are they a bit sluggish? We've got our tails up a little bit. Yeah, there's a possibility that it could be win number 2 on Friday night.
Well, Whitfield won't be playing. So, in my view, I would be putting a hard tag on Lachie Ash.
You think Whitfield definitely doesn't play his 250th?
No, I've been told today that he's staying at home.
Okay, well, there you go.
But that's as of Monday. Things can still change, but
quite possible.
I think
the Giants today said they were still positive about him playing. But it wouldn't surprise if he doesn't.
So Ash, their outlet movement off halfback has been a real feature of their game, as you know, this season. So I would, if Ash is the guy, then wouldn't you put someone on him and say, beat us another way?
100%. And that's what teams have done to them this season. They've clogged up the corridor. They've restricted their run off halfback, and the Giants have been found wanting big time. So we've got to be really on in terms of not letting them play that game, because when they are forced to go slow, they struggle. So, there's an avenue to us beating them on Friday night, and who knows? It'll be the form line suggests that in terms of the way we're playing that we can do it. It's whether we can actually get over the line and win, which is a bit of an issue for us now. Hey, before I go, Drew, I wanted to. How much time we got, mate? You got the timer there?
Shot clock. Where is it? We've got time. Time.
I want to talk about the WAFL team. So another big loss on the weekend. I think we've won 1 or 2 games. There's been some heavy losses this season. Our injury record is not bad. So the last 3 years we've had that excuse of, well, how can the WAFL Eagles be competitive when we have so many injuries? Our injury record is not great, but it's not, it's normal. We're not going to get much better than what we've had this season, right? You have to be very lucky for that to happen. And yet we're still getting spanked in the WAFL. Is there an argument to say we need to go back to the old model of just distributing our players to proper, well-established WAFL clubs? Because what seems to be happening is our youngsters who are all trying their heart out and playing nicely and seem to be enjoying it, the top-up players are basically amateur standard. And so across the grounds, we're just getting beaten by proper footballers, semi-pro footballers and proper clubs. Fremantle have an alignment with Peel. So they get a better standard of player to play with, and they're at an established standalone WAFL club. It just doesn't seem to be working. And you've got to raise the question now, is it time to send them back to other clubs and develop that way? It didn't seem to hurt us too much in the past.
I would move heaven and earth to get back to a situation where one of the foundation WAFL clubs has all of our players.
Yeah.
I don't mind the spread around, but I think the AFL industry may have moved past that.
Sure.
And so we would be going backwards a little bit if we went back to that. So
why can't we get better players to help our youngsters?
Yeah.
That's what I don't get.
I wish I could answer that question. I actually don't know. But
I would imagine it's because they maybe not guaranteed to play in the positions they want. So we're going to prioritise putting a youngster on the ball, right, for his development.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're an established WAFL player, okay, well, you might be paying me okay, but I've got to go play out on the wing so you can give this kid, a go in the middle. I'd rather play at South Fremantle or Westboro at a proper club, and I can actually play and try and build something with this team, and that makes sense. So maybe it isn't that appealing for the other players.
I'm sure that's the case, because otherwise we'd have a team that was competing and playing well, because good players would want to play there. So I thought going into this that being a part of the West Coast program, that would attract players. And I thought it would be an attractive place to play. But obviously that hasn't worked. Yeah. And so if the AFL is not going to go to a full AFL reserves competition, which I know some clubs would like, if that's not going to happen, then I think the best case scenario is to go back to a partnership like Fremantle have with Peel. Seems to be working for them. Yeah,
so that's what we need to look into. It's working for them. Why is it falling over for us? And I guess it's not being a part of an established club that's hurting us, and the recruitment becomes tough as a result. I'm not the full bottle on this. I don't live in Perth. I'm not immersed in it. So I hold my hand up if I have made some errors in my analysis of this. And I haven't really analysed it. I've just really raised the question. But it doesn't seem to be working right now. I don't see the benefit. The players are developing nicely and playing together, and I'm sure they enjoy it. But getting beaten by 10 goals every week is not going to help us. Now, okay, when we become a better team, perhaps there's some more depth there. But you're still going to have youngsters predominantly in your reserves. And clearly that's not helping results.
I think if there's someone who's listening who is properly immersed in the WAFL programs and understands the comp like send us a message, direct message us and give us your thoughts on it so we can address it.
Because we're all looking at it with interest now because we're a rebuilding side. You really want to see how these youngsters are going more than ever. I think when you're at the top, you'd look at it less because, well, those guys aren't going to get a game right now. But when you're rebuilding, you really dive into those performances. And it's, we all want to see who's played well and who's got stats, but then it's deflating to see a 10-goal defeat every week.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I look at the stats and the result each week, and probably 75% of the time read the match report on the Eagles website, but that's as much as we can be immersed in it from a distance.
I'm watching the highlights every week. Even they put up the plays of the day. You like to see how the youngsters are looking.
Yeah, there's no doubt that it could be a better situation.
All right, Drewy. Good chat. It was an encouraging week. Hopefully we don't have that Carlton performance where things were tracking nice and we had a shocking first quarter and it's kind of game over. Hopefully we're at it. At the same level that we had against the Pies is the way we start against the Giants. And then who knows, mate? Maybe it will be win number 2 on a Friday night. It might be overshadowed by Carlton Collingwood, but a Friday night victory would be fantastic. Been a long time between those drinks.
That Collingwood-Carlton game will be well and truly over by the time the ball is bounced in Perth. So we'll be flicking over and pretty much knowing how the night's going to play out there.
Well, hopefully the nation's flicking over to a West Coast win and Joby Shanahan catching more attention. That'd be fantastic. Good stuff, mate. Share with us your feedback, Nest family and listeners. I'd love to know your thoughts on all. And off we go. Hopefully a win over the Giants this week. Go Eagles.
Thanks, crew.